Well, there's nothing like Selection Sunday day. I remember my first one. I remember a couple where I was sitting waiting for the second to last name to come up, and thank God today ours came up early. And it's ironic. Bryant, Phil Martelli, and I were on a lot of committees in the last 6, 7, 8 years. I'd have to say he's one of my better friends in coaching, and he just sort of retired last year. And his son Philip, I know, in fact, I called him yesterday to congratulate him on winning and getting in the tournament, because I talked to Phil, and ironically now we're going to play him. So I can't say I know a ton about them. I know a little bit that their pace is very good. I'll know a lot more at the end of tonight. And, I've been part of a 2-15 loss. So been there, done that. As I told my team, when you stay here 30 years and you're in 27 or 8 NCAA tournaments, kind of been through everything. And so I don't feel comfortable with anything, and I don't feel afraid of anything. And that's kind of the place I'm at and where I'm at. So, questions, I'll take them.
Tom, I posed the same question to Jaden. Growing up, your mother would say, I can show you better than I can tell you. And it was the Wisconsin game, that kind of game, that infamous trap game that possibly happened, that you still can live to fight another day with?
Guys, I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and there's no question that 2 weeks ago, Wisconsin was maybe the best team in the conference, So there's no trap game. The trap game was going to Iowa. That's a trap game. Wasn't for me, but I think for people. But when you're playing a team that's just as good, and we're as good as them, they're as good as us. I think what we learned, and we spent a lot of time today, we came back this morning so the guys could be with their families last night. And I had a meeting at 4:30 to really go over, between 4:30 and 6, the things we did, and try to make it a real educational, not a butt chewing, not a look what you did here. I tried to make them look at it like, if you want to move on, we have to take care and figure out why we did some of these things. And there were some things that we had control of that we didn't do a very good job of. A kid got hot. If you look at some of the shots he made, they were unbelievable shots. I'm watching the first half of the Michigan game against Wisconsin, and I couldn't believe the shots that both teams were missing, but that's kind of what happens. And so I don't think it's a wake-up call. I think what you try to do every day, and no matter what you do, this is what I've learned about 20-year-olds, that I was probably the same when I was 20. Until it happens to you, like it happened and it's a setback, and we had a chance to maybe win a conference tournament, and then we didn't get to move on. But as I told them, the next time you lose a game, you hang up the sneakers, But, it's still, what I'm harping on is you trust my experience, and I'm going to trust you. And if we do those two things, we're going to have 4 good days of practice and go win ourselves the first round game.
Hey, Tom, obviously the streak is well known, but how much does this year feel a little different? Because this is the highest seed you guys have had in like 6 years, as compared to just the last 4 teams or whatever it is.
Yeah, it feels different because we won the Big Ten, because we won 26 or 7, whatever we've won. I don't know what that is. You should know, so let's put the pressure on that. In my career, I don't know how many times we've won 26 games, probably 5 or 6.
6 or 8.
6 or 8, and and I don't know how many teams. There's been a couple, but I don't even know what Magic's team was at the end of the regular season, it definitely wasn't this many wins. So I look at it as we won a lot of games. We played an incredible schedule. I am, like, everybody's going to be critical of this and critical of that, and a little, ironic on how not more than 8 Big Ten teams got in. It's easy to say I don't think we got the respect we deserved when I wasn't one of the schools that was on the bubble. But, I thought Indiana deserved to be in, and maybe even Ohio State, especially looking at some of the teams that got in. And it's the hardest thing about this tournament, I wish we'd go back like it used to be. The analytics, they can stick them where the sun doesn't shine, this and that, they can do whatever they want. But I still say football does a better job with the eye test, and that's taking nothing away from the committee or anything. But I just think that it's more real, and maybe that wouldn't be good either. But I do think the Big Ten deserve more than 8 teams, and I guess we got to do a better job as a league. But for me, I'm ecstatic on where we are. We played awfully good ball against. I don't know if we ever had a stretch where we played that many high-powered teams in critical situations, on the road, short prep time. I think we're prepared for the tournament. But as you saw today, if a best player scores 32 one day and goes 1 for 14, if fatigue sets in, I don't know, Wisconsin plays tonight and then they go to Colorado on Thursday with, I don't know, where does Michigan go, but that's the one issue of playing the late game, as good as it is to win a championship. So I wish I would have been playing today. I like where we're at. I think we got some work to do because there's some things that we saw on film today that were definitely fixable mistakes. And it's okay to shoot that, but it's not okay to make mistakes that should be fixable.
Just looking at Bryant's roster, but I know you haven't really probably dug in all that much on it, but notice they have some high major transfers, and I'm wondering how much at this point in the tournament, this is the first time you've been a high seed really in the portal era. Have you noticed any changes with some of the lower seeds when they get some of those high-end kids who have come from top programs?
Well, number one, Northern Michigan got high-end transfers. Everybody's got high-end transfers, it seems like nowadays, and I guess that's why those teams win. If they get 5 or 6 of them, I don't really know their roster. I will in a half hour, but I don't know it now. And that's more challenging. It means that they got really good players, and some of those guys might have played in the NCAA Tournament somewhere else. I know very little about him right now, but I do know, not because he's my friend, I do know Phil's kid is a very good coach, and he sure as hell been brought up right, because Phil was one of the best coaches. When he was at St. Joe's, he was unbelievable, and did a hell of a job there. And his son was all part of it. He's got 2 sons in coaching. It's a coach's family, and we'll have our work cut out for us. It's just the nature of the beast nowadays. When a 1 beat a 16 a few years ago, it kind of changed everything, and now nobody's safe. So I won't sleep any better than I slept last week or the week before, but at least I know ahead of time who the competition is. I know who's in the next round. Our theory here, you gotta win the weekend or you don't move on anyway. You do have to do it 1 game at a time, but we will prepare for all 3 teams a little bit. And I learned that from a lot better coaches than me, and that's where our program's at, that's what we'll do, and we'll start tonight.
Tom, this is the first 2 seeds since 2019, and your program's been through a lot since then. I'm curious, when you look at the way you've been able to sort of the revitalization, the resurgence this season, how much of that can be sort of proven or backed up with the NCAA tournament this year?
Well, first of all, we really do get screwed on if you want to say from the 21 season, but everybody knows we were one of the top, we would have been a top 2 seed in 20 when COVID came. So, we were a very good team that whole time. I could argue with you that was one of my best teams in the last 3 weeks of a season that I've had. And Cassius, had gone through that terrible thing, and and he was just coming on at the end and saying, I mean, that team was really good, and I think could have made a deep run. You never know. So it hasn't been quite as long as you guys want to make it, if you ask me. But whatever's good for, I was going to say for print, but it's not. Whatever's good for clicks is good for me, I guess. So I will go with you guys, but it's a good question. It really is. You want to make, I don't want to do it because to prove, I don't have nothing to prove. I really don't. I'm comfortable in my own skin where our program's at. I mean, it was 2 years ago, we were in a Sweet 16. If we win that game, we lose in overtime. We might be in a Final Four that year. You know, it's amazing how that works. I saw somebody write an article, well, they haven't been to a Final Four in 5 years. Gene Katie hadn't been there in 30. You know, and I love the guy. But more important than that is one of those years we didn't even have a Final Four. So it gets misconstrued. But listen, when I was growing up and I was here as a GA, I think it was Mark Aguirre was at DePaul. And I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years in a row, you know, they got beat in like the first round or something. And I remember one year he walked back from the arena, which was 4 miles away to the hotel, and really good teams, you know. It's a funny time of year, and there's a lot of things that happen. And if you thought there were distractions and things 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it's nothing like what these guys are going through now. Nothing. I heard Steve Alford had a hell of a piece that y'all should read. I haven't read it yet either, but I've been told about it, you know. And that creates issues for guys, you know, and you're seeing a lot of this, right? I mean, we just saw a team win the Big Ten, and a couple days ago was not playing very well. And you see a lot of this. And I used this same sign the first meeting we had this year. I said, you're going to see a lot of this year. And people don't want to accept that. I think it's going to happen a lot. And, you know, unfortunately, we're seeing coaches getting fired because people don't understand how difficult it is. So I'm not proving nothing in the NCAA tournament. I'm hoping to continue to win games, but I really am smart enough to know, and I think most of you are, the reason it's called one and done is 1 bad minute and you're out. And the NBA doesn't have that, the NFL doesn't have that, Major League Baseball doesn't have that, football does have that. And that's what makes college basketball in the NCAA tournament. They don't have Cinderellas either. I mean, there was a couple of schools that haven't been to the NCAA tournament 50 years. You know, can you imagine what those kids are playing for, and the hype and the excitement, and that kind of stuff makes you play at a whole different level. So I'm not trying to validate anything. I'm not trying to say, here, I'm not dead yet. I'm still relevant. I got a good team. Yesterday proved it because we didn't play great. And, you know, it's a 1-possession game with seconds left. And we've earned that, you know. Whatever happens here, this will tip off all our fans, all the media, and everybody else. Whatever happens, it doesn't change. 30 games, 32 games we played, 33? 33 games. There has been consistency in 33 games. I think you could add up the points we lost by, it might be 20. Maybe a few more, I don't know, maybe not even that many. In our total lost points. So consistency's been there. We gotta go out. We gotta hope some guy doesn't catch fire and score 30. We gotta hope some official doesn't make a couple of calls on one of our best players and get in foul trouble. We gotta hope nobody gets injured. There's so many factors in how you advance in the NCAA tournament. And I'd say the number one factor now is not injuries, it's not getting hot, it's not getting cold, it's not the officials. Can't blame it on the media. I'd like to. They can't. But it's the distractions. It's my favorite line. The dirtbags and distractions. And that's what these kids have to deal with these last 2 years that they never had to deal with. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do with my guys, keep everybody focused on the task at hand.
Tom, after all these years, I'm wondering what still excites you the most about this next few weeks? Like, what is it, the new opponents? Is it like, what is it that really gets you going?
Number one is practicing when it's still light out. I've said that for 20 years. You know, we usually have a meal up on a concourse before we leave, wherever we go, just so I can see the sun shining, and we're still practicing. It's not dark out. That means you've advanced. That's number one thing that excites me. Number two is just how many players and former players for us. The Tum stopped by today and came into the meeting room. He was here yesterday for the games and he stayed overnight. And, you know, time of year it is, guys. You know, it's part of our DNA here. And so I'm excited every year. I told them if I see one guy entitled, you know, I said, I'm sure as hell not entitled. I've been to 27, 26, 28 of them. I'm still counting the COVID year. But everyone's special. Everyone's exciting. You know, you hear that music as they start it. You look and see where you are. You work until you look uglier than you do right now. I mean, those are all good things, man. And those are why you have the job. You know.
Got time for a couple more?
And you brought up, you know, the 16 being the one for the first time kind of changed everything. Would you attribute like kind of the uptick in upsets in these types of games to maybe the transfer portal raising the floor of these low mid-major teams, or would you say like they just kind of believe they can win these games a lot more now?
Well, first of all, when some of those things, when we were at 15 and we were 2, got beat by 15 when Virginia, there was no transfer portal. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with it. That's going to make it, I think, it's staying focused on what you got to do. I really believe it. I'm going to believe it. And I think there's better teams because people, you know, the whole reason people go places now is either for the money or for the opportunity to play. Winning is not necessarily high on that list. And that's okay, but that means there's going to be more players spread out. And there's good players. I mean, you know, when I was in Division II, we went to the NCAA Tournament 3 times. I had 2 players that got drafted late in the 3rd round. It was 3 rounds then. They were better than some players I had here. There's good players out there. You know, Doug Wojcik says it all the time. A lot of good players, a lot of good places. And if they're well coached and they believe in what they're doing and situation, somebody takes something for granted, which everybody will. I mean, fans, and you know fans will. And what's changed over the years is now fans have access to the players more. So, no, I don't think it's the transfer portal totally, because I think some of this happened in the last 5 years, but I think it'll escalate it along with the distractions. Those 2 things are going to escalate it, and you're probably going to see more of them. So, like I said, I ain't sleeping good, but I feel comfortable where we are. I just don't feel comfortable in, you know, the teams you play. I think people can beat people.
Close with Rico and Rico.
Tom, you said 27, the good looking one. Tom, you said 27, 28 years in. Is your coaching philosophy still the same, or has it changed some just through time and experience?
Philosophy, no. I mean, philosophy-wise, the other day we didn't guard good enough. If you depend, we rebounded well enough, we guarded decent, turned the ball over a little. We did everything to win that game except made a couple of boneheaded plays and a couple of things that happened. And when you're in those kind of games, the margin for error for most teams is small. For us, it's minute. We knew that. I said that the whole year to y'all. And so you still got to defend, you got to rebound, we got to run, we got to take care of the ball. You know, I'd like to run more. I'd like to score more points. I mean, we've scored more points this year than most years I've been in it. That's good news. We've been defending at a very high level. We defended the three about as well as you could. Now, 26% I think we are as in the conference. And we only gave up 31%, but we had let one guy get more than his share of them. It cost us, you know. And so, no, you're still one and done. That hasn't changed since day one. If you lose a game, you go home and hang up your little sneakers. So I don't think things have changed much. I really don't.
Tommy had three seniors, and obviously with Javon and Frankie, they came into this, but you got one senior he's been here for the whole thing. So tell me, what's Jaden's responsibility for this team and to this team going into the tournament?
Well, I got Jaden and I got, Trey and the juniors that went through the game in New York when we had a chance to win that game and we lost it in overtime. And then there was upset city from then on. That's when FIU and San Diego State upset teams, you know, and I explained to them that in this tournament, there's going to be somebody who gets upset the first round, the second round, the third round. You know, everybody, first thing somebody will want to say, well, how about playing Marquette? You played them before. You know, first of all, who knows what's going to happen with Marquette? And number two, who cares? You know, I thought Jaden answered those questions real well. I heard the end of them. But Jaden's responsibility is to make sure they know, because I know because I'm experienced and I've been through 27 of them. But he has been through 3 of them. And one that you could argue we had a great chance to get to a Final Four if we win one more game that year, if we win that game. And that's what I told him he's got to express upon the players. And I'm still big on this. The game will be won in the meeting room tonight. It'll be won in the locker room tomorrow. It'll be won in the practice field. It'll be won in the hotel. The game will be won before the game is played 90% of the time. And I think that's your leaders, your seniors that have to get that through to guys. And then Jake, one of our key guys got to play his best too. So always the senior has more on him, but more given, more expected. Jaden's cool with that. And I think he'll do a great job of that. I mean, I thought at the end of the year the players were playing for Jaden a lot. I think they knew he'd been through it. He's the most unselfish human being I know. He's good to all the players. He's a great teammate. And I think they wanted to win for him. And there always should be a battle cry, and I think that's awesome. So to leave you...
We got one final one here.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to follow up on that because you've experienced it all, but there's a couple of players, especially I'm thinking of freshmen like Jace Richardson who have never experienced it. How do you find freshmen like that who are a key cog in the team? Does it take them, blood on the lip from the first game to get into it, or do you think he's the type that'll be into it right away?
Well, he's had one advantage. That's almost a disadvantage because his father only lost once in the NCAA tournament. He was like 10-1. So he's got that experience that I'm sure his dad has talked to him about it. Winning all 6 games his first year and winning 4 out of 5 his second year. But Jace is his own man, and I've been saying that since day one. He's efficient. He's beyond his years in youth. He's not a freshman. And pressure does not seem to bother him. Now, who knows what will happen between now and Friday? Who knows who will be, trying to, get to him, how many outside people or this or that. I just don't see, of all the players on my team, he's a very unique kid that pressure does not seem to bother him at all. He's been really efficient, and the moments never seem to be too big from the opening games when we played Kansas to throughout the Big Ten games, throughout the NCAA tournament. I think he hit the first 5 or 7 points of the NCAA of the Big Ten tournament. you know, I think he does look at pressure as a privilege, and I'm not going to sit down with him and have the normal talk I would with normal guys, because he's proven to me over and over again that he's focused, he's hungry, and he's not afraid. And that's the best way to put it. He has years of he's not young. He's his age does not speak for how he handles himself. So I'll just say that you know, it is exciting. I want to make sure everybody knows that you know, we talk about those years, and yes, in a couple of years we got beat in the second game both years, and then the Sweet 16, and yet there's a million schools out there that would be dying to be in the NCAA Tournament. So we lose perspective. I lose perspective. Fans definitely lose perspective. But it's getting harder and harder to be in that tournament. There's some damn good teams. One that beat us, it's not in the tournament. So I'm just appreciative of it. I'm appreciative that we put ourselves in a position where I didn't have to wait forever to see my name up there. Because I've done that a few times. It's not as much fun as you think. And I'm looking forward to this tournament. Hopefully you guys don't have to go too far to get there. I guess the only problem is we're busting again because they got the 300-mile rule or whatever it is. So we're in Division II. It pretty nice. The way I look at it, it's still 4 hours shorter than those trips from Northern Michigan. So I'll be with my buddy Mike Garland, and he can tell the guys how to travel in that bus like we did for 4 frickin' years. Okay. Thanks.